Civilization or Barbarism, an Authentic Anthropology by Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop. Linear A was used in Crete from 1600 BCE to 1400 BCE, whereas Linear B appeared in Greece only around 1400 BCE. Ventris and Chadwick, 1959. The tomb of Agamemnon, the treasure of the descendants of Atreus, or tomb of the genie, the tomb of Clytemnestra. These supreme models of Mycenaean architecture were built between 1400 BCE and 1300 BCE. Was, 1949. Frescoes found in Crete before 1400 BCE appeared in Greece around this time. Pendlebury, 1939. Hutchinson, 1963. Figures 18, 19, 20, and 21. Thus, contrary to the opinion of historians according to whom the destruction and decline of the Minoan civilization resulted from an Achaean invasion, it can be maintained on the basis of archaeological and geological facts that the important leap forward of the civilization of recent Helladic III, commonly called Mycenaean civilization, after the eruption of the island of Santorini in 1420 BCE, was influenced by the presence of the Cretan refugees who introduced the alphabet and the traditions of Minoan art. The multiple effects of the eruption of Santorini were felt in Egypt, and they left traces in contemporaneous Egyptian literature. But until now, this evidence has passed unnoticed or has been misinterpreted. The explosion of Santorini took place under the 18th Egyptian dynasty, 1580 BCE to 1350 BCE. This period can be divided into three different political periods. 1. 1580 to 1406 BCE, meaning from the beginning of the dynasty to the first 5 years of the reign of Amenephis III. 2. The remainder of the reign of Amenephis III and the reign of Amenephis IV, 1375 to 1358 BCE. The end of the dynasty, 1358 to 1350 BCE 3. After the expulsion from Egypt of the Hyksos in 1580 BCE, the power of the new 18th dynasty increased progressively and reached its peak under the reign of Thutmose III, 1501 to 1447 BCE. This pharaoh has been considered the greatest conqueror of ancient times. His empire extended from Babylon on the upper Euphrates to the upper Nile. The same expansionist policy was maintained by his successors, who succeeded in preserving the power of the empire until the Nubian campaign of Amenephis III from 1407 to 1406 BCE. Around 1406 BCE, the political strategy of Amenephis III changed, and there suddenly began an era in international relations hitherto unknown in history, according to James Breasted, 1951. Relations between the pharaoh and both the vassal princes and the neighboring kings became fraternal, instead of being based on force, as was the case in preceding periods. They started calling each other brothers. Tablets from the Telemarna, Mercer, 1939. The pharaoh appeared in public for the first time in history, and the affairs of the divine royal house were dealt with in public. A period of literature began to flourish with its own art, architecture, and music. Amenophis III favored the cult of the sun god Aton in the polytheistic Egypt of the time. The invasion of the Hittites, it might perhaps be more correct to say the revolt, in the north marked the beginning of the collapse of the empire. Amenophis III did nothing in its defense. His successor, Amenophis IV, or Akhenaten, 1375 to 1358 BCE, continued the peaceful politics of his father, tablets from Telemarna, while the Hittites invaded the northern part of the empire. Akhenaten was interested only in religious reform. He ordered the destruction of all polytheistic symbols, closed the ancient temples, and introduced the worship of the universal god Aton. He is considered the first monotheist in history. The last period of the 18th dynasty, Saqqara, Tutankhamun, etc., 1358 BCE to 1350 BCE, was characterized by the rejection of monotheism, which was held responsible for the downfall of the empire. James H. Breasted, 1912, 1926, 1951, interpreted the history of the 18th dynasty as follows. After the conquest by Thutmose III, an idea of internationalism developed throughout the empire, and with it was born the concept of one God, imperial, universal, and common to all. These ideas reached their paroxysm under the reigns of Amenophis III and Amenophis IV, Akhenaten. But Breasted is not able to explain, many prominent authors think, why these ideas appeared all of a sudden in the middle of the reign of Amenophis III. Important economic relations existed between Egypt and the Aegean Sea during the 18th dynasty. Cantor, 1947. Verkuter, 1954. Minoan ceramics were imported into Egypt until the end of the reign of Thutmose III. In fact, in the tomb of Rekhemera, vizier of Thutmose III, one sees Cretans bringing these vases as a tribute to Egypt, which had conquered their island. Folk, 1879. We know that the vases found under the ruins of Thera after the eruptions resemble the vases of the Egyptian frescoes that we have just alluded to. These frescoes were commonplace during the reigns of Queen Hatshepsut and Thutmose III. They showed Cretans, called Keftua, in Egyptian texts, in Minoan costumes, bringing tribute to Egypt in the form of vases and various gifts, figures 22 and 23. The frescoes appear for the last time together with the ceramics of the recent Minoan I period in the tomb of Rekhemera, Grand Vizier of Upper Egypt, which was closed about 1450 BCE. And we'll stop there and then continue with civilization or barbarism. I'm Uriel Riley. Thank you. Hi,